Hi, I'm Pharaoh, and today I'm going to be doing Permadeath, but I'm not in the right save because I was just testing a few things. I couldn't get any sound at all, and I don't know why it even came back, but it's one of those problems that I'm having a problem, what's going on, click a few things, and all of a sudden it's working, and it wasn't anything logical that I did different. I don't know. Anyway, welcome everybody. I can see Gravnauts around, I can see Ignitions around. Hi, both of you. I knew putting abandon mode in the title would get Ignition coming back. He's just a sucker for the abandon mode. Let's get out of this and get back into my abandon mode. Quit mode, select. And where is my abandon mode?
Axon Ignition says, the solution to every tech problem, mash buttons randomly and rapidly.
Absolutely. It worked. I mean, who's to say otherwise if it works?
Says, you mean get Gravnaut to come back?
Yep. Where? Oh, that's that one. Abandoned Universe. A Traveller and his Corvette. I've just named it weirdly. Which just goes to show I haven't actually played this save for quite a while now. All I know is I remember thinking, and I put a question in chat earlier on. I remember thinking, is it time to start industrializing, or do I need to bother with industrializing? Because I'm kind of got. I just realised that looks like a coffee machine. Never really looked at that before. Sorry, getting distracted by graphics. A typical No Man's Sky thing. Yeah, I have plenty of oxygen to be getting on with, but I've only got... Let's see what I've got in my storage. Things like oxygen, carbon. I've got another 410. That's not a huge amount. Carbon I've got hardly any reserves of. Oh, that's there, so I've got one there. Things like oxygen, carbon, nitrogen to some extent. I haven't really built up any reserves. And maybe I don't need them, but it's always a bit of a... what do you really need to succeed in No Man's Sky is always the question. It's like I'm beginning to think you don't really need money anymore. I'm beginning to think you don't really even need nanites that much. Although in this particular save I do, because I'm trying to build up to actually slowly upgrade my ship. So have you noticed that they've made this graphical engine in here a little bit better? That was really low quality for a while, but they've made it a lot better now. I don't know if they realized it was similar to the Switch thing, where they had lower percentages lower graphics for Switch and left it the same for everything else. But for a long while they were really poor, but they're a lot better now. Anyway, so where were we? We're getting distracted by all sorts of things, which, as I say, is quite normal for No Man's Sky. But I'm trying to think exactly how to progress this save other than continuing to chug on and do the discovery thing. What I was doing in the discovery thing is I was just making sure I got all of the fauna, which was building up my nanites. And of course there's not always fauna on planets, especially not in the blue systems. Is it really 3 months ago when I was last really discovering stuff here? Looks like it. So yeah, I haven't got all of the things I need for building yet. I don't even know if I've got an awful lot of was a ship coming in. I don't even know if I've got an awful lot of salvage data. I don't think I have. So maybe that's the first thing I do, is go looking for some salvage data. Has that got a bigger blocking thing still? It has. They haven't changed that since the swarm. So let's have a look at what building parts we do have and don't have just here. So we don't have any of those. Hi, Sir Ominous. Good to see you. I haven't seen you for a while. Where are we? So I've got the basic things like refiners.
451 says, greetings all.
Hi, King Lich. And what have I got industrial wise? I think I made a little bit of a play for the industrial stuff at some point. I haven't got the extractors yet. Oh, I've just got the batteries and stuff like that. But I've got all the switches. We've got 36, which is enough to get each of the extractors. And yeah, I probably do want that. So that leaves me with very little. So I need to build up some to get the supply pipe I can get. I need to build up to get the supply depot. And I also probably need to build up to get...
The question on everyone's mind is what comes next for NMS.
Well, there's just so many possibilities, isn't there? So... I mean, I've made speculation videos based on the... a speculation video based on the leak. I still think the leak is probably true. So where do you go from that? When you think something is probably true, it kind of deadens my speculation. Yeah, let's go down to a planet. Go back to my base and do a bit of running around there to get some data, salvage data. I reckon I need to get about 30 odd. So let's start playing in earnest. Let's go to the full screen. It's still this issue with the strange textures. I played this down to get the worst of them away. Right, so
Axon Ignition says, lots of momentum building up for LNF is coming soon.
I do think Light No Fire is just around the corner now. I don't think they can delay it an awful lot longer. In fact, there is a video in that at some point. Have I mined that, or is that just really weird? It's like a... It's like a cave in there. I think I might have seen this before. Right, where's my... Now I've been playing a different flight game, so my my instincts are to just press the wrong buttons at the moment. I've been playing the demo of G Rebel to see what I thought of it. And that is very much a drone flying game, in that your ship is a vertical takeoff and landing game. And ship. So the flight model's totally different. It's bound to confuse me as soon as I jump in a ship. You have that switching between completely different flight models problem. Yeah, I do think Light No Fire is very close.
Axon Ignition says, "You won't wait, say a week, Sir Ominous Gaunt. See what the game's about."
Let's just put that
Sir
on the
Ominous
screen.
Gaunt says, "Currently sitting waiting to push the button for the pre-order of LNF."
What I think is going to happen most likely is that they'll release the 10th anniversary of No Man's Sky, and they'll give that its own time. Just refamiliarizing myself with the controls. They'll give that a little bit of time, and then they will go into Light No Fire mode. Whether they'll wait until the Game Awards or whether they will start pushing it before that, I honestly don't think they can afford to wait that much longer. Right, what I want to do, I want to just step out of my... Oh, I didn't maintain. I mean, look, I looked at their financials last year, which are all obviously a year behind schedule. And it feels like their financials are not in the best state now. I'm not saying they're in a bad state, but it feels to me like if I was them, I would want some more cash flow coming in. And so that's the point at which you expect to see them really pushing to release a new game. So yeah, there might be a video in that, just kind of having a look at their financial situation, what it really means. There's a lot of undergrowth here. Got to think in terms of abandon mode. Got to make sure I don't leave these. Otherwise, Gravnaut will be upset. I would pre-order straight away just because I feel loyal to the company. They always say, oh, you shouldn't pre-order games. But, I mean, there are certain circumstances when you do pre-order games. I feel like this game has given me far too many hours of enjoyment for the amount of money I spent on it. So even if I don't like Light No Fire, I won't feel cheated by the cost.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, GTA have pulled back from PlayStation, so hopefully we see LNF before Christmas. If that doesn't happen, we'll see LNF possibly May/June 2027.
I mean, that's a reasonably good guess of when it might be out. But I think we will know by the end of the year when the release date is. I think we'll get a better idea. I just can't see them waiting any longer. I mean, let's face it, a lot of us thought it might be out by now. But then the 10th anniversary always felt like a reasonable time to be thinking about it. It's just we didn't want it to be that long. It's not that one, but it's near there. I need to remember I am playing a permadeath mode the way I'm flying around. Because I remember running around on this planet before and it had some unusual hitboxes that hurt me. Wasn't ever sure what they were. By the way, Ignition, I know you were having difficulty a few months back, a couple of months ago, well, maybe a month ago, with the stream quality being reduced by YouTube in the subcontinent. Let me know how it is today, because I've adjusted a few things. I'm trying to make it a little bit more standardized. So maybe do the whole stats for nerd thing after about half an hour and see what kind of codecs it gives you. See if they're still messing with it, or whether me changing how I'm streaming has helped that.
Axon Ignition says, it's perfect today.
Yeah, give it a little while.
And 40p6. Axon Ignition says,
what's going on there?
Axon Ignition says,
message retracted, message retracted, message retracted.
Ignition says, S. Axon Ignition says, P.
It's too late, you can't retract it. There we go, let's have a look at this.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, LMS was rushed out due to PlayStation paying for its promotion, hence why we got the unfinished version. I know it's still not finished, but 18 quintillion planets is a lot of procedural mathematics.
Alright.
Says, typos.
Right, we need to correct something there. And I mean, it's not that important, but you know, people being wrong on the internet and all. PlayStation, Sony never gave any money to No Man's Sky. It was a deal without any cash involved. What they wanted was the rights to publication for a disc version for when the PlayStation was released. And so what Hello Games were very wary of was actually letting Sony give them any money, because they knew that their game wasn't necessarily a big seller, and that having a big backer like Sony financially wouldn't be that good. So what they actually did is they struck a deal, a promotion deal, where they were allowed to stand up on their stages and promote No Man's Sky for free. So it was a swap of promotion, which obviously has a financial value, but it doesn't need paying back, as it were. And a swap for promotion for publication. Unfortunately, what that also means is that because Sony were publishing a disc version, their own publication version of the disc, they probably had a say in how much it would cost. So the release price of the game, that AAA price that they initially insisted on, was probably too much for the game as it was. But I don't think Hello Games had total say over that. And now there's some contradictory evidence there, and you can only go by what various people said at the time and later. And at least one person said, oh, they tried to convince Sean to release it at a lower price. And that makes it sound like Sean had the choice. But I don't think he did have the choice. I think Sony probably negotiated a price with Hello Games as to what they wanted to sell it for, and they felt beholden to that. So I feel that like the deal did have one negative effect, in that it maybe overinflated the price of the initial offering, making it sound like a financial deal there at the initial price. But yeah, Sony never gave any money to Hello Games. And I haven't got all of the references to hand, but I have investigated this quite thoroughly.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says. Side note: Jeff Keighley invited Sean Murray Hello Games to VGX Awards in 2013. NMS was revealed as proof of concept. Both are friends. Shahid Ahmed strategic content for Sony liked NMS and asked if in.
Yeah, and you can see why. I mean, they were trying to promote a new platform. It needed to be next generation. Hello Games game that they were bringing out looked like a very next generation concept. The procedural generation was something none of us had ever seen before, and still to this day I think the procedural generation of No Man's Sky is the kind of it's like the one that breaks the rule. Most procedural generation isn't that great.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says. Could be delivered sometime in 2014. He told Sean we have to have it on PS4. Sony offered HG financial support and Sean turned it down.
That's better.
Creative control over his company and the.
Absolutely. That's exactly how I see it, and what the documentary evidence seems to support. That Sean just turned down the money, which I think was a very wise move.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says. Games promotion as a top title. Sony's E3 shows the trailer. Launched 09th August 2016.
Yeah, thanks for the timeline, because as I say, I didn't have the links in front of me, and that kind of marries up with what I discussed what I discovered when I was digging deeply into the timeline myself.
Kinglick451 says. Shame the release of the game was rocky.
Yes, it is a shame it was rocky, but I don't know. This argument has been had far too many times over the years. I think the rockiness of the release was a little bit exaggerated because of the way that people were expecting something else. Yes, Sean didn't do a good job of managing expectations, but you know, he's not a marketer. I have some sympathy for him, really, but it wasn't an ideal launch. We can't pretend it was. So yeah, it was. I mean, rocky is probably a good word in the long term of it. It could have been managed better. But then again, you get that expectation. Oh, Sony are in on this. Sony are producing their own disc version. Must be big. Just that will add expectation to the mix. Right, how much we got? 15 there. Did I have any more? 30 there. 30, 45. Might as well make it around 50 or 60, I guess, as it seems to be being found relatively easily. I mean, it must be pretty much unprecedented for a company as small as Hello Games, and a company that had made very little like this, to suddenly get a deal with Sony, even if it was non-financial.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says. The start was rough, but over the years look at the improvements and the fact we never had to pay for updates like so many other games do.
I mean, absolutely. I would have paid for some of these updates.
451 says,
I'd have paid for Worlds.
that is admirable. The only reason I've bought the game.
Obviously, if they had made a paid version for Worlds, then we'd be split. You know, we'd all be on different versions, which would be awkward. But I would have paid for it. I'm doing that thing, Ignition, falling down holes. It's almost my thing, isn't it? Now I can't see where the hole is. Is that deep down there? I don't want to move now. Right, let's go up this way. Where was I going? Over there. Remember, it's permadeath. Pay attention. Dismantle. Oh, that's nice. Right. Right, this is rocky terrain, so we need to keep an eye on the sudden drops, he says, falling over the edge of a cliff.
Ignition says, oh, don't talk about falling down holes. I was doing the Colossus unlock tires thingy, took me a long time. It was the grindiest grind in any game. LOL. And yeah, I fell into a cave twice.
What were you trying to unlock with the Colossus? Oh, you mean the parts, you mean the is it Taste of Metal?
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, remember the first time we got to meet other players in the game and they were floating orbs?
See, I don't remember that because I didn't play back then. I didn't have a good enough PC. So, I mean, as you can probably tell from my fascination with the early days, I did follow the game. And I watched, back then, there weren't as many streamers, but I did watch everybody that made videos about the game. And I followed it really quite closely. And I did watch a few streamers once it started to become more of a streaming culture. But, come on, get up there.
Ignition says,
but I don't remember it.
the Colossus from the
Come on, don't fall down the hole.
Finally found a flattish terrain in Calypso.
Oh, you mean the... Yeah, sorry, you mean the waste stuff. Ah! You know, maybe I should get out of this terrain in the dark. Maybe it's not the best place to go looking for salvage data. Let's make it a platform game. Let's get out of this terrain.
Kinglick451 says, dancing with death here. Says, for the folks watching this at home, you might see a permadeath, death, live.
Death live. It's not very good at context, the Microsoft Clio or Microsoft Voice. You might see a permadeath death live. It is a little bit dodgy in permadeath, yes.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, bit dodgy in Permadeath.
Well, I do have shields now, so I'm not too susceptible. It did happen before, but only because I was being really stupid very early on, so I didn't really lose a lot of time. I think I lost a few hours, 2 or 3 hours, I don't remember exactly. Um, and I was being really stupid with the.
Oh, he's died a lot. Live King like 451.
No, I haven't died a lot. I've died once. Oh, I've died in other streams. I am a little bit gung ho. I quite often die in expeditions, which is a bit crazy. My most common reason for dying in expeditions is drowning, because I forget that you are a little bit vulnerable until you've actually got the right technology. Right, let's pull my ship down. Bit of a stutter there.
Stats for nerds says AV01. That's the correct.
Yep, that's the correct codec. Excellent.
And 40p 60 FPS. It's running pretty smoothly here. A big thank you PH Pharaoh Hufeuclid.
Well, I mean, I've been streaming in AV1 all the time. It's just that I think because I was running slightly non-standards, and this is stats for nerds now, so feel free to just ignore this chat. But because I was running slightly non-standard stuff for AV1, I think YouTube was saying, yeah, let's change this to something else. I could have just done back to the anomaly then, couldn't I? Actually started at a time when I can actually have some lunch today, so hopefully I'll be a little bit more awake for the stream. You'd never guess it because I am a little bit all over the place with deciding what to do, but that's No Man's Sky. I haven't got quite the maneuverability yet, it seems.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, calling in the anomaly saves on fuel.
It does. I mean, if you want to move around and jump to different places, always use the anomaly. Yeah, but I could have, because I used the teleporter down to that planet and then jumped in the ship and flew around but never left the planet, I could have still used back to the anomaly to jump straight back here. So I didn't need to call my ship in. There we are. Supply depot. Okay, might as well grab that because it's only one. And that's what I want. And I want all of these basics because they can give me carbon when I choose to use them. Don't need all of them, but I might as well grab them as I've been collecting. I don't need any of the others. Maybe I can grab those.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, great thing about Corvettes is you save fuel by not landing.
Yep. I mean, there's lots of great things about Corvettes. They totally changed the game, in my opinion. Don't actually have the planetary storage containers. That's interesting. Well, they need them with a Corvette. Again, another great thing about the Corvettes. 14 left, so I can't grab the antimatter thing, but I don't really need that. Maybe a landing pad might be handy. Yeah, let's go for a landing pad. Haven't got enough of those. Maybe start thinking about looking for somewhere else to build a base as well. I never got round to that. I'm just looking at this weird texture. It doesn't seem as if it's got those ridges anymore. Did I ever get round to planting some traps down here? I put something down here. Did I put the... yeah, I did put the... this down here. So I don't think I have I even got the traps? Yes, I have. I need some metal plating and some salt. I can probably get the salt in here. It's only a secondary, but... looks like there's jellyfish under there. There must be a primary here somewhere. It's not a very deep lake, is it?
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, unlock Gravitino and Nip Nip's extra pound.
Maybe. You know, in Abandoned, do you need money? I mean, that's one of my debates I have generally in the game. Do you even need money much these days? That's where I feel like we need an end game that's attritional, that makes us buy things. Just see a message, look up. Oh, it's me. It always throws me. Let's play me. It's not even going to let me. No. Yes, it's going to at least pop it on the screen. quite enough salt. I don't think this is the best place to go looking for salt. There's just not enough primaries. Might have to make some salt, but I think I might be better off finding another planet where I can actually build beside the water. Right, so what are we going to do? How are we going to go about this? We could build some here. We've got a nice flat area. We could build some of our... where are they? The hydroponics. Yeah, we're going to run out of resources very quickly. Let's put some fast growing stuff in. So we need some frost crystal. We haven't actually got any here. Have I got any in my Corvette? Where's the teleporter? Is it hidden in there? Looks like I'm going to have to go looking. Make sure I have got the gauntlet. Yes, I have. Well, it gives us a side quest. Discoveries. Nothing frozen here. Let's go to my later ones. Well, there's one straight away. Non-offload. So what do we think will happen once Hello Games finally stop producing updates for No Man's Sky? I don't think it'll be anytime that soon. But how do you think they'll leave the game? In what state and what kind of game will they leave us? If you see what I mean. Got it here. Oh, Lon, not non.
Kinglick451 says, one big major update. Hopefully. Sir Ominous Gaunt says, hopefully completed lore.
Yes, on the lore.
I think 2027 might be the last year for NMS. Heck, I think if LNF drops right now, then 26 is it.
Dunno, I mean, what happens if Light No Fire fails? They would need to do something else, and they'd probably have to I mean, that could be the point where we see paid content for No Man's Sky if Light No Fire fails. It's a big risk bringing out a brand new game. What's the name of the planet we're looking for? Yoshu.
Kinglick451 says, I doubt they'll have paid things for NMS. Perhaps for light no fire. Axon Ignition says, if LNF fails, a lot of people in the industry will be very happy. A lot of green eye on the NMS success story.
Do you think? I'm not convinced that the community is that divided over things like that. I think most developers want to see other developers succeed.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, if and it's a big if LNF fails, then it might see redemption like NMS.
True. Do they have the time to do that? I'm gonna say I think you were pointing to the wrong person, King Lich. Yeah, I feel like we made a little bit of that rivalry between Starfield and No Man's Sky, and I do think that it was a bit cheeky when Todd apparently said, "Oh, you're the Joe Danger guy" to Sean.
Says, King like 451 Bethesda for one, HG's poking their backside with a lot of updates.
It's odd that when King Lich atted, it didn't play, but when Ignition atted, it did play. I wonder if that's something to do with my other settings. I wonder if it's because Ignition is listed as autoplay anyway.
Kinglick451 says,
Yeah, I think it is that.
Interesting. Ironically, Starfield is something more of my cup of tea, yet I never touched it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a bit of a joke when Todd apparently said to Sean, "Oh, you're the Joe Get Danger guy," because it was like saying, "Oh yeah, we're rivals in the space game section, and everybody's comparing my game to yours." But I don't think it was necessarily meant
is an abomination.
maliciously.
This is from someone who's put in 3k hours in Skyrim back in the day.
Can't say Skyrim, can it? I mean, some people did like Starfield. I just feel like, for a start, it's not my kind of game. I wouldn't play it, and that's nothing against the game. That's just that my tastes don't align with that. I just feel like they did kind of make it sound like it was going to be a bit more like No Man's Sky in their promotion. A lot of people were saying, is this going to be the No Man's Sky killer? And then it came out and it was nothing like No Man's Sky.
Kinglick451 says, yeah, I love Morrowind, one of my favorite computer RPGs.
Right, I just saw it, but I don't remember what angle I was at now. Is it here? Oh, there it is. It's on the hill.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, I played Starfield and when the mods appeared gave it up.
I think very early on, there was a bit of a feeling that the modders would have to fix Starfield.
Parmenter 1983 says, I like all of them. They all disappoint me in some fashion. NMS with no plot, Elite Dangerous the player base, Starfield has half-finished ideas. Axon Ignition says, wait a second, PLYRS usually love mods, why did you bounce when it appeared?
They have a lot of paid mods. I mean, I'm not speaking for that perspective,
Axon
but
Ignition says, that's a great take, Parmenter 1983.
I feel like, as I was saying, I feel like that's an interesting perspective.
Says, was no longer a challenge.
I feel like there was a bit of a strange narrative when Starfield came out that the mods would have to fix it. And that's not a great position to be in, that you feel like the developers themselves won't be the ones that make the big change to fix it. And then, of course, once the modders did start to significantly add stuff and make the game different, that kind of took the pressure off Bethesda to fix it themselves as well. So it kind of was a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way. So yeah, I'm not 100% convinced that paid mods of that type, that kind of model, is the best model for that, for Bethesda. I don't think it necessarily helps them. I think they see it as a financial thing. Oh, great, we can get money for people doing the work for us. But that in itself is not a good thing, I don't think. There must be some underground here. Can't see it. It's clearly right in front of me. Yes, there it is. It was blooming deep. Yeah, it's like I had 3 crops of this. Any more? One more. So, Parmenter, you didn't like the story, or you feel like No Man's Sky should be more roleplay based?
Sir Ominous.
Yeah,
At
I
least
feel.
doesn't rely on modders to fix NMS. Yes, we have goat fungers etc, but there are options.
I mean, I feel like they could make. This was kind of at the root of my question originally when I said, "Where do we think we will change it? Where do you think they will leave the game?" And I have a feeling they will leave the game in our hands more. That they will give us more ability to mod. So it's like in the same way as Bethesda kind of have that attitude of people can mod and we will sell the mods because they really do dig into the core of the game and use APIs for the game, etc. I have a feeling that a good place for Hello Games to leave No Man's Sky would be with more control over things like missions, so we could make missions for each other or actual content that we could create for each other.
Parmenton 1983 says, doesn't need a lot more roleplay, but a bit more would be nice. Kinglick 451 says, I would love it if players could create their own adventures.
Yeah, I mean,
451 says, LOL, just what you were saying.
oh, I thought you were replying to me, but you was typing it at the same time, and there was a lag. So yes, it would be great. I feel like that's something that could be missing. I think there's a few of us that have that kind of creative bent that we'd be quite happy to write little mini stories and make this game our own in that respect. And we can't do it at the moment, and that's frustrating.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, Bubukti created an adventure for fun between expeditions.
You'll have to unpack that. Is Bubukti a person? A game? I should have just gone back to the anomaly, shouldn't I? I still can. I mean, if you look back at, say, Captain Steve when he was messing around with getting AI to give him missions. I mean, AI obviously is going to always get a bit confused about what you can do in the game because it will just hallucinate its own ideas about how the game works. But there's something to that idea of creating our own missions and expeditions and generally and it also to play to that idea of a little bit more role playing in the game. You could play to that element. You could make missions and stories that were related to a particular type of play, like a pirate story or a pure explorer story. And in a way, things like the challenge games, people that set up their own challenges, like Beeblebum, for instance, they're very much role playing. They're doing more than just making the game more challenging. They're kind of trying to create a mini story as to what they're up to. Oh, I've heard you talk about Boo Boo, so I didn't put two and two together because I don't think I've seen any of her actual content. Great player note. She wrote it. Let me just play it. I keep forgetting that I can hit that.
Says, yes, Buba's a friend of mine and a great player of NMS. She wrote adventures to keep me amused between expeditions. Check her channel on YouTube, Bubukti Gaming.
Yeah, I do. There's only a limited number of No Man's Sky people I watch, and that's partly because after a while you think I should just be making videos. I shouldn't be watching streams all the time. But yes, I will try and catch up with some of that content, especially if there's some interesting story stuff going on there. doing that thing of tidying up everything. Right, so we're going to need to power this. So we're going to need some gold, which I thought I had. Again, I wonder if I'm just out of range of mine. Running out a bit of space here. I thought I had this. I had more space than this. Need to do a tidy up. I've got plenty of space in my containers. I thought it let you. Is it? Do I have to be sitting in the seat to access storage? No. I'm sure they've changed that. I'm sure I was able to access storage at one. And now I've accidentally landed. So now that one is a controversial one.
I would love the ability to rerun expeditions without having to go offline via PC.
I understand the sentiment and the feeling of wanting to do that. But I just feel like expeditions are not tuned for that. So they would have to change them quite a bit in order to make them work for proper offline play. Proper kind of running them yourself play. And if they're going to put that much work in, they might as well just release another expedition, if you see what I mean. It's but I get the sentiment. I know people like, well, I missed the opportunity to get this, therefore I would like to the opportunity to get it. I just don't share the opinion myself. It's not something I want. And I don't think it's very easy for them to do just because of the way things are set up. Let's chuck some stuff in here. So, for instance, you couldn't do any of the expeditions that included community content. Couldn't think how to say that. As an example. Now, some people would say, well, that's good because I don't like the community content ones. But it's a limitation. Yeah, we do get the reduxers. And we could get more reduxers. And we could get more remixers. Because we've had 2 or 3 remixers now that just kind of give us older things without having to do the... For instance, the very first expedition, even... what was it? Pioneers. Even the Redux version is quite a dull expedition. It was more of a test of how it works.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, Community Connect is already done with Redux.
I think what you mean is Redux allows you to do the community stuff again, which it does. There is a bit of a rumour going around recently that community expeditions get rid of the... Redux expeditions get rid of the community element. They've never done that. They've always included the community element. But I don't think that's what you're saying there. I've just heard a few people say that recently, and it's just not even how it's ever worked. Ah! I hit the wrong button. I've gone back to the normally. So yeah, every time they've ever done a redux of a community mission, we have had time gates exactly the same, just they've been easier. There's never been a time when they've removed the community content. Go and watch the videos. So what was I going to do? I was going to burn that. Oh, my thing isn't there. So where did I put? Am I only relying on my Corvette for? It's a portable in there. I parked in an awkward place again. Yeah, no, it's not. It's the standard place. I put the Magno Gold. Never say that right. I want to say mango because you just read it kind of almost dyslexically. Yeah, they shorten the Redux and they make it a lot quicker. And so effectively it feels a lot easier. Only one available. What am I missing now? Oh, metal plating. I can make plenty of that. Hopefully. No, I can make one. Okay, well I can make two. That'll do. So this is going to be very much reliant on daytime at the moment, unless we can get a battery, which I think needs metal plating as well. Am I? Biofuel reactor definitely does. Battery doesn't. Okay, we just need the magnetized ferrite. That's handy. So we do have some pure ferrite somewhere. Somewhere. Oh, it's right there. Still haven't got the Mark II. Yeah, I approve of the idea that Hello Games have started to do remixes, and we've had, I think, 2 or 3 remixes if you count the time when they introduced the different pets. So we've got an egg for each phase, and those were eggs that you could only previously have got from older expeditions. And so I approve of that kind of thing where they're just remixing and rejigging the rewards you get from the expeditions. And I imagine if they were leaving the game at a finish and we no longer had to we no longer could rely on them making content, I imagine what they could do is just play the reduxes constantly, so they could go expedition, tidy them up so that they're all playable in their own way. They could go expedition 1, expedition 2, expedition 3, and they could like play one a month, just rotate them over and over. So if anybody popped into the community and they're like, how do I get hold of this? You say, oh, you'll have to wait until September for that one. It wouldn't be, oh, you'll have to wait and see if they ever put that into another expedition, or if that expedition ever comes back in a redux. So it would be a little bit more accessible, but without being completely open to everybody all the time. So at least when we had each expedition, you would feel like you were doing it together with other people. I think that part of it is quite important, even though I know a lot of people turn multiplayer off. An awful lot of people, more casual gamers, do not turn it off and see it as the main part of their fun, I think. It's just they're not the people that you see talking about it as much.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says,
I need to set you up so that you're actually playing.
is the ability to take your freighter on expeditions.
That's an interesting idea. It is often a bit of a frustration that we don't have our freighter.
Norman Sky says, I really don't like FOMO rewards.
It's gaming though, isn't it? You know, it's in... A lot of people don't seem to like it, but it's part of gaming. It makes events special. And if you've been around all the time, then, you know, I was there. It's a badge of I was there. And that's special in and of itself. A lot of people like that. I like that. I like being able to go into my catalogue and looking at the where is it? Yeah, previous expeditions. I like being able to go into that and seeing that I've got all the badges. It makes me feel like I've been playing the game for a long while. It's kind of it's an achievement that I've been around and done it, if you see what I mean. I don't mind if they replay them and you get them again. I just don't. I think it needs to be a little bit special. So I do get the sentiment, but I'm not sure if I agree with the sentiment. I mean, so many games do it. It's just become part of gaming culture. Sir Anonymous yet again showing that he watches far more No Man's Sky content than I do. So I want battery. I don't know why I put these over here instead of on the platform, but I would quite like to put a biofuel reactor so I could monitor the network.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, Redux badge should be different or have Redux on it somewhere.
Maybe. I mean, I feel like the Reduxes are there for people that didn't get an opportunity to play them previously or didn't have the time. And I feel like Hello Games are kind of respecting their time a bit by not separating them and saying this is the same thing. And let's face it, Reduxes are pretty similar. They're a little bit shorter, but they're quite similar. So maybe, but I don't really mind that they do it that way. Right, so we have some crops growing. Now the idea of growing these crops is so I can get carbon. Because I don't have a freighter. Because you can't get freighters in abandoned mode. When I suppose I could have built, I don't think I've got them, but I suppose I could have built the planter, but I feel like these are a little bit more efficient. And have other reasons to grow them. Let me hang on. Let me just include, so I don't have to keep manually selecting the names. Let me just add a couple of names on my list so that it actually auto plays. From user. See if I can copy directly from there.
Brian 9772 says, what if they simply copied the expedition rewards to the Quicksilver shop over time?
They could do that. Again, as an endgame thing, they could do that. I would prefer they just... sorry if I'm shouting into the microphone there. I would prefer if they just replayed them all over and over. That would be fun. That's Ominous Gaunt added to the list. And at because I like having the conversation, but I prefer it just I just prefer to hear it, so I don't have to keep looking up and pressing buttons to get the conversation flowing. Norman Sky is on the list, and who else has recently joined? Brian, I think you're already listed. Yeah, you're already on there, so that's why it was coming up for you. I'll keep an eye out for anybody new. So save that flow, export, so I've got a backup, and I can carry on. Right. So the next stage, I really need to get carbon. I really need to build up my ferrite supplies, but I've got oxygen coming.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, Norman, any new pyramid build ideas?
Right, I'm stuck now because I've actually achieved one of the things I was going to do. So what am I doing next? I know what I was going to do. I was going to pause anyway. It'll give me time to consider exactly what my next step is. So let's just make a save in my ship. Ah, I keep pressing the wrong button thinking I'm saving in my ship instead of just getting out of the cockpit. How many times?
I'm always building a glass pyramid, so looking for something new. Norman Spy says, I've been building my settlement base atom. I'm obsessed with the Xeno Arena table. There's a mod that turns it into a base parts.
Have we managed to work out if there's a way of getting the Xeno table to play player versus player yet? Because I know people were really struggling with that. Now, I wanted to pause for a bit, and I wanted to talk about this Friday stream because I like doing this abandoned mode stream.
Says, I've got one. If you're interested, I can let you copy it.
You've got one that is player versus player. Okay, so one of the things I was thinking about doing, and I mentioned this in another stream, was also playing a different version of a challenge. And the challenge would be an old thing that I used to see people talk about in on Reddit years ago, which was to start.
Spy says, no, not yet, Pharaoh. Only PC players with the mod and challenge other players.
Yeah.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, Zeno table.
So the idea is that what you do is you start the game normally, but you can only build up the class of things once you've established a certain level of class below it. So, for instance, you start with a C-class ship.
Got it on PS5.
Start with a Class C ship, and then you work your way up to B. So you're only allowed to buy a B ship next. And then there may or may not be certain rules for at which stage, how developed a ship has to be before you can get the next stage up. For instance, do you need a certain number of B-class modules in it? You wouldn't be allowed to put A-class modules in a B-class ship, as an example. So I was thinking of what else could you do along those lines that would be compatible with a slow progression challenge like that. I was wondering if anybody had any ideas of the types of things that they've seen in other challenges like that, or if we could kind of brainstorm a few ideas of what kind of game we'd be looking for if we were doing that. Because I think there's some mileage in that kind of system. I don't think I've got any particularly low. I guess the Swarm Plus is slightly low. It's got a C-class ship, for instance. So imagine this was my starter ship, or a ship I'd swapped my starter ship for. Then, I mean, I'd probably be allowed that kind of thing because it's standard thing. Or maybe you could even have a restriction on the non-base modules.
Says, upgrading your Corvette only once you've upgraded from C to B to a ETC.
Yeah, so I mean, in this, I mean, I would be able to put C-class modules in. And then at a certain point, either just when I saw an A-class I could afford, I mean, B-class I could afford, I could then sell this ship. But I would have to sell the ship, part exchange it completely, and I'd have to leave everything in there because I wouldn't be allowed to put B modules into this ship, and I wouldn't be able to put C modules into the B ship. It's like a compatibility level. I'm not 100% sure about whether I should be allowed to do these. That would be interesting. Whether you'd be allowed to only install like ablative armor and non-linear optics, but you wouldn't be allowed to like do the cadmium drive until you had a B-class ship, as an example. That's an interesting side question. The other question would be, would you have to have certain
195 says,
types of modules or a certain hi Alpha, it's good to see you. Oh, that annoying, just get out of my ship, that'll stop it. Would I, for instance, have to have a certain class of readout? Would I need, for instance, at least a couple of C-class weapon modules? Would I need a couple of C-class shield modules, etc.? Or would it just be a matter of saying, okay, well, I'm not happy with this ship. Let's get a B class ship and start again. Would that be the main route that you would use? I'm not sure about that. And this had me thinking that there are other progression things out there. There's a mod. Let me see if I can find it, because that would be really interesting to. I'm pretty sure it was on Nexus mods.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, C class 1/3 upgraded before you can upgrade to 2/3 SB class etc. This would work on the tech and cargo slots.
Yeah, I see what you mean. So you're saying just focus on the slots, not on the actual technology. That could work. So you had to have a certain number of slots before you could upgrade. Of course, you have limited slots anyway, but yes. Right, Nexus mods. No, and Sky. I'm doing this off screen, but what would it have been called? Perhaps it would just have progression in it. Nope. Progress. And I wanted to look this up beforehand, but I had a few problems with my OBS, so I didn't get a chance to look for it. Can't see anything there. Does anybody know the mod I mean? To give an idea, it's a mod that
or if you land, you have to find a crashed ship before you leave the planet.
Yeah, I've seen things similar to that in the past. If anybody remembers, there used to be a mod, and it was being kept up to date relatively recently. And the idea was it changed a lot of the progression methods in the game to make it more logical. I can't remember what it was called.
Norman Sky says, this challenge sounds great. Professor Cynical has his landlocked challenge, which I love doing too. Kinglick451 says, using the tech slots in a way that you can't get the adjacent bonuses.
That doesn't sound very fair. It's not supposed to be a hair shirt challenge. What else could it have been called? It's not under progress.
One says, all right.
Just turn on my...
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, Norman, you're doing it too quality. Gravnaut says, PTSD. That's a mod for abandoned mode. Not sure on the name.
Well, the one I saw wouldn't have necessarily been abandoned mode, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was one that was similar for abandoned mode. Let's look for that one, because it might be made by the same person. Hardcore Sky. Restores fauna in abandoned mode, limits it to robotic creatures, ground only. Choose aggressive or passive. No, that doesn't sound like it.
Norman Sky says, I love challenges in NMS. It breathes new life into the game for me and tests my knowledge of the game.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the point, isn't it? It's a new way of playing the game. It's a bit like how, as I was saying with my kind of overview / review of the Swarm, is that I'm the perfect player for the Swarm because I'm quite happy to dive in and make a new save, whereas A lot of people are like, do I have to wait for this? Do I have to do this every day? It's like, well, yeah, because that's what the fun is. I like playing the new, but that's me, not everybody, and I can see why some people didn't want to do that. But it challenges you to play the game differently. I wonder if this particular person abandoned again. I wonder if hardcore might be the hardcore sky abandon mode. Hardcore sky reduced hazard protection. I wonder if
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, that's exactly why I love Permadeath.
well, she really struggles to say permadeath. Permadeath. Yeah, I mean, I think one of my saves, if I go back to this a second, I think I've left it. I might have. Because I've got my old perma save, which is just 613 hours. It's just ridiculously over the top now. I hardly touch it. But this one, max, that's just everything maxed out in permadeath. And it took me around about 50 hours to get to the centre in a I'm not going to cheat, I'm just going to go there kind of way. So I presume that's probably in a second galaxy somewhere. And I really enjoyed it. Trouble is, once I hit that, and I didn't stream this, this was before I really streamed that kind of thing. But once I hit that goal, I felt, well, I've done that now. I wanted to get to the centre in maximum settings in permadeath, and I'm there now. And then I didn't really know what to do next, because it was like goal achieved only took me about 50 hours. I feel like something you need something that, a little bit that you can get more of your teeth into, like that. But I feel like a slower progression method could work.
Max Permadeath is the perfect game.
See, I think I mean, going way back to before I played it, because as I said, I wasn't here right at the beginning. I feel like the game is balanced for survival mode, and a lot of the problems with, like, for instance, being able to dupe, being able to use, well, not duping specifically, but being able to use certain tricks in the refiner go away with survival mode, because you just don't have the space, you don't have the capacity to really make use of it. You can't exploit it as well.
Black holes to the center. Pharaoh of Euclid.
Yes, I have done it both ways. But not in perma. In one particular save, I think it was in my original normal save, kind of my oldest, longest save. When I first jumped to another galaxy, I went to Hilbert Dimension. I spent a lot of time there.
Max Permadeath is the only game I don't dupe.
Well, yeah, I don't really dupe anyway, but where was I? Yeah, so in my original save, I got to what was I saying? The Hilbert Dimension. And then I decided, when I got my living ship, that I would just travel all the way to the centre without going through black holes. So I went the long, long way, where I didn't even use a black hole. Whereas in Max Permadeath, I did the trick where you go through a black hole and then you travel as far as you can towards the centre with a warp. And then you go through a black hole that's nearby, and then you travel as far away from. So what you tend to do is you jump through the black hole. You arrive somewhere that isn't a black hole. You look for a black hole that's the furthest towards the centre as you can reach. Then you warp to that, and then you jump through that, because that will take you just that little bit further each time than just going to the nearest black hole.
Norman Sky says, yes, it takes willpower for me to not dupe. I have survival game, no dupe, but on my YouTuber Norman save I do dupe.
Yeah, I just don't really see the point of duping. That's just me, though. I've done it in a couple of odd saves that I've kind of not that bothered about while streaming. I've never done it not streaming, because there's no real point, I don't think. Right, so where were we? I was looking up to see if I could find this mod, but I can't find it. So I'll give it a couple of more searches. I'm going to see if this person that made these hardcore Sky mods is also the same user. If I put his username in, see what else he did. Nope. In fact, it's not finding him. Why is it not finding him?
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, never tried the black hole jump method. I can see a new challenge on the horizon.
You got to go the black hole method. I mean, a lot of us remember before the but I think that even the black hole method has been made a little bit easy these days, because when we first used to use the black hole path, every time you went through a black hole, you had a chance of getting damage to your ship. So it was attritional. So there would be some kind of limit of how far you would go before you had to start fixing your ship back up. Whereas now they got rid of that. I don't know why they got rid of that. It's such a strange thing to get rid of. Mods to make the game harder and more fun. Terrain over. That's just building costs increased. That's not it. No, I'm not finding it. I'm not finding this project.
Says, that's why I never tried the black hole method. Gravnaut says, the black hole isn't a viable possibility in abandoned mode since they aren't identifiable in the galaxy map without Polo's help.
Yeah, it's tricky because you can't do the Atlas path, can you? So yeah, in abandoned mode it does make it tricky. But obviously the mode I'm talking about would possibly just be in either survival or perma. It wouldn't necessarily be in abandoned mode. So yeah, let's putting aside my search for a mod, because I know there's a mod out there. I'll just have to do a bit of a better search. I'll have to actually sit down and sit with Google for a bit and look for it, which might be tricky to find a but if you imagine everything was like that, you had to build on C class and then you could progress to B class, etc. Then you could do the same with multi-tools. You could do the same with freighters. You could do the same with corvettes. You could probably have a limit of when you're allowed to build a corvette. So you wouldn't be allowed to build a corvette until you'd got... Maybe you would go... Maybe you wouldn't allow corvettes. They're a little bit too convenient. But then what would be our ultimate goal? Would it just be to get everything to S class? Or would it be to get to the centre with everything at S class? Or would getting to the centre just be a side goal? In other words, would be allowed to travel galaxies, etc., and do all of the different storylines and paths. But the real aim is to get to S class for everything. I feel like everything to S class could be a little bit anticlimactic, just because you'd be working towards that last little thing. You've got an A class multi tool, say. You get to S class multi tool, it's like, ta da! I've got a better gun. Feels a little bit. You've been working up to that, and then it's just like, oh, I've got a new gun. So I feel like you'd need to do something more than that. How about a group of us getting to... I think that was too long for the thing, so let's click on
Sir
that.
Ominous Gaunt says, how about a group of us getting together and racing each other through max Permadeath, but you need to level upgrade to S class before you can travel to the center.
I mean, it could work. The trouble with that would be timings, because you'd find it very... because it's going to be a long project. And so are you all going to be able to play on the same day for a long period of time? Or do you just say we keep an eye on the timing of the save? So do you just say, based on time, it's like a time pressure game, let's see how we can speed run to the center, but with upgrade to S before? That could be more viable from the perspective of... because I think the idea of all challenges is you want to leave it open to as many people as possible. So you want to be able to say, play along, but you don't necessarily want it to be... you all have to play along together, if you see what I mean. I think the get to the anomaly challenge works for that. Like when you sit 2 or 3 people stream at the same time, and the first to get to the anomaly, or the first to get to a certain point that will only take 3 to 5 hours, works. But anything long term like this, and it does take a while to get to the center, for instance, if you do it like Black Hole Path, it's a slog, trust me. But yeah, I like the idea of more than one person doing this kind of challenge. Let's put that on screen a second. Add source, window capture. Text. Notepad. Okay, that's far too small, so let's zoom in on that. So, rule 1. We can only upgrade a ship / multi-tool / freighter / what else is there? Ship, multi-tool, freighter. Is that it? Am I missing something? through the classes C to S.
Kinglick451 says, what about suit tech slots?
Yeah, I'm thinking about that. We'll get to that in a second. I was thinking also you'd probably want to have...
Upgrade a freighter. Sir Ominasgaunt says,
Well, you can upgrade freighters. You just have to get a new one. The same as you would part exchange your ship. Oh, yeah. You can only part exchange ships. And multi-tools. Because that makes it... You really have to make decisions then. You've got to the point where you've got a decent weapon, but you don't want to make it too good because when you upgrade, you're losing a lot. So it depends how much you pour into each one. Can only part exchange ships and multi-tools. 3. Do we say that, for instance, if ships are multi-tools mainly, because freighters are kind of by the by, but do we say that you're only allowed to... Actually, let's just take freighters off of there. Let's not worry about freighters. Maybe we're not even allowed a freighter. I don't know. Do we say that your ship and multi-tool need to be of the same class or aspirationally the next thing you're doing? For instance, do you say if you upgrade your ship to A, you have to also upgrade your multi-tool to A before you can upgrade either of them to S, if you see what I mean? I think that kind of works. Let's put it in for now. Multi-tool and ship upgrades need to be in step. In class step. We know what we mean by that. We can type this up better later. 4. What we talk about exosuit. I think one of the things you can do with the exosuit is you can limit it to the same number of slots that you can have in, say, a different class for hauler. So, for instance, when you are at S, you're allowed 120 slots. But lower would be whatever the level would be. Can't remember what the actual levels are.
Axon Ignition says, no scroll bar suit.
Well, you could say that, but you know, the aspiration, you've got the flexibility, the aspiration is there. Let's have a look at what those
Gaunt says, exosuit tech only 3 lines of tech.
Forever. I mean, that's a bit tough. Let's have a look at the hauler a second. Ship catalogue. I don't know. I don't want a ship catalogue. Let's go to Starship. I'm not doing this on the screen in front of you, but I'm only looking at the fandom page just to see what the different levels are, because I can't remember. Starship.
Axon Ignition says, C, B, A, S. 30, 40, 50, 60 multitool vs 60, 80, 100, 124 ship.
Okay, thanks. So, did you just look that up, or did you just know that? So, multi-tool, you start with 30, then you get to 40, then you get to 50, then you get 60. Ship, I mean, it depends on the ship, but that's why I said hauler. 60, 80, 100, 120.
Axon Ignition says, I know that.
Yeah, so I'm thinking you could have
One says, respect. Axon Ignition says, I also know that a minute of terrain manip gives you 80 of the mineral.
Great. I don't remember numbers.
Says, ship including tech is 180 slots total. Axon Ignition says, LOL.
I'm not the type of person that remembers numbers like that, so I find it quite impressive you just know that off the top of your head. But okay, so let's say you could say your exosuit is limited in the same way as a hauler, and so at C class, when you're at the C class rank, and you've got a C class ship and a C class multi-tool, then you're not allowed to increase your main inventory more than 60. What are the tech limitations? Do you know that, Ignition? Do you know what the tech limitations for the hauler are, for instance? Oh, they're all the same. Ships would be all the same for that, wouldn't they?
Axon Ignition says, not all the same.
Ships would be all the same in the technology slots, I think.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, Tech exosuit is 60 slots.
Yeah. But it's 60 slots at S class.
Hauler Max is out at 120 slots, as does the Interceptor. Axon Ignition says, Tech is all the same everywhere.
Is it? So you're saying that a C class hauler, for instance, can have 60 tech slots? I didn't think that was the case. I've always assumed that they were limited.
Axon Ignition says, a C class ship, any, can have 30. A B class have 40. And so on.
Okay, yeah, that's the question I'm asking.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, so max tech slots allow on exosuit should be limited to 30 slots only. Gravnaut says, tech slots are limited to class.
Yeah, that's what I thought, and Ignition has confirmed that now. So it goes 30 and 40. Does it then jump to 60 for A class, do we know? I have a feeling it does. And they say that No Man's Sky doesn't have any depth. It's like some of these questions I just don't know the answer to.
Axon Ignition says, the exosuit suits must be the lower of the class of the multi and ship. 30, 40, 50, 60 kbs.
That would make sense either way, even if it wasn't the limit. But yeah, that sounds about right. 30, 40, 50, 60. And yes, exosuit would be last because it's the reward for getting your ship and your multi-tool.
Serious question, Pharaoh, have you been playing the game at all? I mean off stream.
No, I haven't. See, exosuit. Once class reached in multi-tool and ship.
Axon Ignition says,
we know what that means at least.
Exosuit slots min, class of mount, class of ship, slots.
So exosuit can be expanded as per hauler slots once class reached in multi-tool and ship, if that makes sense. So that's what we're saying. I don't think that that sentence is particularly useful right now. We'll probably have to tidy that up at some point, but that makes sense for the rule. So what else do we have that we can limit along those lines?
Axon Ignition says, yes, we got it. That makes sense. Perfect.
We think it's 40, 30, 50, 60. What other things? Oh, I know one of the things. Not allowed to use... What's the terminal called? In...
Axon Ignition says, if you, in perma, limit the hazard protection.
We probably would be in perma, but it would be optional. The rules don't have to be specific. The terminal in the... What's the terminal called on the right-hand side at the back of the anomaly, where we spend nanites for blueprints? Is it just a blueprint terminal, or is it called something else? I'll call it that for now. I mean, that's a great... it's a great quality of life, but I feel like it completely cuts out an entire form of gameplay, which is building those things up.
Grafnort says,
Synthesis Laboratory. Is that what it's called? That's a weird name.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, Tech Terminal.
It's not finding results either. You know what? I'm just going to confirm. We'll find out for sure. We'll just go there. Original should be in the anomaly.
Axon Ignition says, the exosuit /ship /mount /exacraft terminal.
No, I think we can use those. I think that would be, again, a bit hair shirt. Oh, it's not in there, but never mind. We'll go there. We're a bit hair shirt to say we're not allowed to buy stuff in the anomaly. But I do think that the terminal on the right, and for those that aren't sure what I'm talking about, we'll go there.
So
let's just turn that and...
Would love to see tech slots limited to 30 only in the exosuit.
Yeah, you've said it 4 times, I think, and I can see that, and I would consider that as well as a rule, because I like the idea that the exosuit technology is something that we are forced to think about and make choices, as opposed to it being everything we can fit in there at once. So yes, I can kind of see that, which is why I didn't specify the amount. Well, I did specify the amount, but this one, what's it called? So it is called the Synthesis Laboratory. Well done. Were you there? That's a weird name. So number 6, and no, that was number 5. We'll just say not allowed to use Synthesis Laboratory.
Axon Ignition says, Grafnort freaking amazing.
We're beginning to learn who really knows this game inside out. Not allowed to use Synthesis Laboratory. And the reason for this one, this rule, is because you can get these things in factories. And there's no reason to go to factories. There's hardly any reason to go to factories while this terminal exists. And so it cuts out an element of gameplay that I approve of the way that we can buy them all in the anomaly now. I like this terminal. I don't disapprove of it as such, but I feel like in a harder game mode, it makes sense to go back to the days when we didn't have it as a quality of life improvement, because it's made things a little bit easier. So if we look at what we can get in here, we can get various things that we do need quite a lot of. We do need, for instance, the metal plating and stuff.
And tech from abandoned labs.
Yes, that's my point. Is that you're allowed. Whoa, I don't know. Actually, thinking about it, you mean those little boxes, don't you? Let's go to one. I'll go to one just because I feel like there's 4 or 5 of us that know exactly what we're talking about with these things. And then there's probably about 10, 15 people watching at home thinking, I've no idea what these guys are talking about. So we need to at least explain as we go along what we mean. Oh, I don't need that. I need to just jump to an abandoned system.
Need ship.
Yeah, I love that ship. Filter.
195 says, it's pointy. Axon Ignition says, yo, good evening Alphas 195.
Alphas has been around for a while. Were you just not there when he joined in?
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, I keep forgetting not everyone has played NMS from the beginning.
Well, yeah, that's kind of it, isn't it?
Yo Ignition.
When I didn't play it from the beginning, I've just gone to the wrong one.
Axon Ignition says, I was eating dinner.
I filtered the wrong thing. I was filtering by life form, and I want to filter by... Is it conflict is easiest? Then we can go red. Oh no, is it green? Oh, I'm even forgetting how to look up. But I found one anyway. I think they might have stopped getting rid of these. I felt like there was... Let's see what happens. Oh, nice. Oh, that's my ship. Yeah, look, it doesn't disappear anymore. Am I getting stuck here? Yes, I am. It's a little bit dangerous to do that. Well, it's dangerous now. It didn't used to be. It used to make the ship disappear.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, freighters locked.
Yeah, freighter's locked. You used to be able to fly to the freighter door and it would make the entire freighter fight disappear. So it'd be a quick way, if you weren't bothered about the freighter fight, to just get rid of it. But I think there was a patch note in Swarm that mentioned something about the freighter door or something. They treated it as if it was a bug. I always saw it as a feature. I quite like being able to get rid of the battle when I didn't want it.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, call in the Nexus or head to the space station.
Yeah, which we've done. It's just it's a lot quicker to just fly to the door, makes it disappear, And it worked until the Swarm Expedition. And I was only doing it just to test that. So do you mean these boxes? Are we allowed to come here? And I think the answer is no. Because these are OP.
Alphas 195.
That's the one. No, this one I was trying to.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says.
So is that what you mean, Sir Ominous Gaunt?
Axel Ignition says. That's some op loot for sure. Alphas 195 says.
Oh, abandoned labs on the planet. Yes, you are.
In a save on a Corvette, and every time I encountered Ghibli I was colliding into the ship during the dialogues. Almost trashed my ship. Sir Ominous Gaunt says. No, the abandoned labs on planet.
Yeah, that's what I thought you meant first time, and then I suddenly thought you meant those. I was doing... Let's read that again. I was doing...
Alphas 195 says. I was doing the Instellar Multitudes in a save on a Corvette, and every time I encountered Ghibli I was colliding into the ship during the dialogues. Almost trashed my ship.
Yeah, it's
Graph Naught says.
not great.
System manufacturing sites already have open doors. No blasting required.
Yeah, but is that a problem? You just go to an abandoned system as opposed to or somewhere they have abandoned things. Is that a restriction we need to really specify? I mean, I'm open to it. Yes, you have to go to factories and...
Sir Ominous Gaunt says. Any tech found in space stations or the wild must be sold.
Tech found in the wild is should be encouraged, surely, rather than if it's higher value, if it's higher class, maybe. What do you reckon? I don't know. I wouldn't want to discourage people from looking for tech in the wild. I don't think you should even be allowed to use these abandoned boxes. I feel like these abandoned boxes were set up for abandon mode, and they felt it was easier to just leave them there.
Graph Naught says. Another source for those synthesis laboratory blueprints is distress signals, but very limited.
What do you mean? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Gravnaut. Distress signals.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says. If you're encouraging wild tech, then you're as well using the synthesis station.
I don't want to use the synthesis thing because you want to encourage people to go to
Graph Naught says will give out the blueprints.
Oh, you mean? Sorry, hang on. Getting stuck in the weeds here. Let's cover one thing at a time.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, crashed ship distress signals give tech blueprints.
Yes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate this for people that might not be sure what we're discussing by going to the individual things we're discussing. So, nasty storm straight away. Ship I was looking for. Yep. So you can only have one ship at a time because you have to part exchange. here I should have my secure site stuff. I don't think it will give me a secure site in an abandoned system. So I'm going to need to go to the ordinary system. That's a gas giant system, but it doesn't really matter. So if we were go through a manufacturing facility, this is the most functional way of getting those blueprints.
I received the stasis device, portable reactor and mineral compressor blueprints from crashed ship distress beacons. It's random.
Yeah, I get what you mean with that, and I'm not sure whether that's a bad thing or not. I mean, anything that encourages you to go onto planets and work things out and find things, surely that's a positive, because you're kind of getting back to that original method of playing the game. So for those that aren't really familiar, when we come here and we go to this terminal, warning, unexpected system detected, bypass ship template detected, get Trade Federation informed. This isn't going to give me anything. I think we just revert it in this case. Oh, he's going to give me something. Okay. So we have the option here to learn a new recipe. And when we go to learn a new recipe, we get to the same page as the terminal in the anomaly. And so for those that aren't really familiar with how this game used to work, this was our main method of getting some of these things. So if you wanted the different Atlas passes, if you wanted your warp hypercore, etc., if you wanted these, I don't think these were even available back then, but a lot of these were, then this was where you had to go to get it. And as you can see, if you don't select anything, like I just didn't, then you get a factory override unit. And that becomes currency in those places. So you can build up, say, 5 or 6 factory override units, come to this place and spend them all at once. And for those of you that watched my stream for the spawn, it kept giving us these. So I actually came to one of these places to spend them just because I had them. So when they put that synthesis laboratory in the anomaly, they effectively bypassed the need to come here. We didn't need to come here anymore, unless we wanted the other options in there. For instance, the multi-tool expansion. So my thinking is that we'd want to encourage planetary exploration. And while I don't think it's necessary to say you can't buy things from the terminals in the anomaly, I don't think this is a no anomaly challenge. One thing you could do, instead of saying no anomaly, is you could also limit which modules you can buy. And then the discussion about abandoned ones was that when we go to abandoned systems, if we find that particular type of point of interest on an abandoned system, it doesn't have any defense. The door's open, you walk straight in, you can go straight to the terminal. So the question was, are we allowed to use the abandoned versions of those? And I don't really see a problem with that. I think that's kind of a 50-50. I'm open to the idea of saying no, but I'm not sure. But certainly when we come to the technology merchants, we have the option to say that we're only allowed to buy things that don't have a class, or things where we've reached that class for our exosuit. So we've got an A class, sorry, we've got a B class ship now, we've got a B class multi-tool. We're allowed to buy B class stuff. That to me helps limit both exploration, because then you'd be allowed to go to red systems, but it would also limit what we can get in the anomaly. Does that make sense? Do we agree with that or not? I'm trying to see if there's anything that we'd desperately want that would be... These are all C, and we'd want those straight away. I think they've been relatively well balanced letter-wise.
Axon Ignition says, makes sense to me.
It also gives them a reason to have letters, because currently there's no reason why they even have letters. Even some of the weapons, look, have C's.
Says, and me.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. If you look at them, kind of the basic weapon stuff you can get. You couldn't get the survey device for a while, which would be an interesting limitation. If you actually wanted to start looking for industrial stuff, that's locked out until you get to A class. So that's an interesting thing. This one would be a bit tricky. What do we reckon about the advanced mining laser? That throws a spanner in the works. I'm not sure about that. Not being able to use the advanced mining laser. That's a tricky one.
Sir Ominasgaunt says, question: if we all start together and if we meet or see each other, can we trade items?
Maybe. These kind of make sense because you're finding different levels of things.
Axon Ignition says, does the story mission not give these as rewards?
Yeah, but you don't have to use them. I think the only one I'd be a little bit questionable about would be, looking at that list, the lists we've looked at here, would be the advanced mining laser, because that feels far too crippling to say you have to get all the way up to A class before you can use the advanced mining laser. Everything else looks okay. So I think you could just make an exception for that.
You can ignore the story missions.
Yeah, you can ignore the story missions, although it's optional. You could say you have to. Do you have to say that? I mean, I guess we could just say you had to.
Grafnaut says, you just have to find an A-class gun, right? Axon Ignition says, you can also use the Exocraft's advanced mining laser.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I was thinking that second one. I was thinking what Ignition just said, that you could use the Exocraft. Although I think that's a bit limiting. You'd have to find an A-class gun. So what you're saying is that we could buy an A-class gun, strip the... See, that's too limiting. Are you saying we could... Because I was saying the rules would be you're not allowed to buy an A-class gun unless you've got a B-class gun. And you're not allowed to buy an A-class gun unless you've got a B-class gun and a B-class ship. And that's a long way into progression before you can then say, I mean, what about we said that you do have to play the initial get to the anomaly, which gives you the mining laser, and you're allowed to use that one. Could you get the advanced mining laser as part of the initial get to the anomaly? And that could bypass it then. I don't think you get anything else that's that important. You don't get any of the other tech, I don't think. And also, you wouldn't have to install it.
Sir Ominous says, chance of finding an A-class gun or ship would be via dissonant planets. Axon Ignition says, yeah, get to the anomaly sounds right. Grafnaut says, oh, well, rules are rules. Advanced laser is a so it has to wait for that game progression.
I'm trying to work out how you would play the game even without the advanced mining laser. Maybe it's part of the challenge. I just think it might be a little bit harsh. Has anybody ever tried that? Just playing to a certain level and not had the advanced mining laser? It feels doable because we've got.
North says, well, that's the fun of figuring out the strategy.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, it sounds doable. We've got the ability to make things. It would be much more crafting focused, which I guess would make it feel a lot like.
Gaunt says, you can always refine the items.
So it would be a lot more like a survival game, a more traditional survival game. So that kind of makes sense.
Alphas195 says, no pure ferrite or other higher resources, no mining radiant shards. Sounds like a nightmare already.
Well, you can refine pure ferrite, and not being able to get radiant shards doesn't feel like a. I mean, that sounds like something that makes sense to me. I mean, that you'd be limited.
Ignition says, Pharaoh have you cleared, that's it, you gotta do it, make the live stream octogenarian plays NMS without the advanced mining.
Octogenarian.
You will only lose out on floating crystals and curious deposits.
Yeah, and that's not a bad thing, is it? I mean, to actually limit the ability to get to floating crystals and curious deposits if you're playing it in normal, because I did say I'd rather this was like agnostic to the level of play. So that sounds like a good thing.
Axon.
So are we suggesting it would take me another 20 years before I would actually finish? I'm not 60 yet. I know I have grey hair, but I'm not that old. Right, let's formulate. Let's formalize this. I've got to maximize that again. Okay. Right, number 6. So what do we reckon about abandoned factories? Yes or no? I'm.
Axon Ignition says. Sir Ominous Gaunt says. After last Friday, I'm 2 years from 60.
Yeah, I'm about that. We were probably about the same age. I don't even remember how old I am. That's the trouble with me. I always add on years. Like I said, I'm not very good with remembering numbers. I'm good at maths. I'm just not good at remembering numbers.
Axon Ignition says. Belated.
Oh yeah, many happy returns if it was that recently. Yes. Not allowed to use them. What were we saying? Are we allowed to use the abandoned factories? Let's say no for now. We'll put that in that or abandoned factories.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, cheers Axon. Gravnaut says, I have played scenarios without the synthesis laboratory in abandoned mode and it isn't easy.
Yeah, but, you know, that's in abandoned mode. Oh, what you're saying is it doesn't really matter if you're allowed to use abandoned factories or not. Is that what you're saying? Because that, yeah, maybe. I put or abandoned factories for now. I'll just put it in brackets with a question mark so we don't forget that that's a question. Not allowed to use abandoned boxes. But that's not going to be a major problem anyway.
Being open or closed isn't the issue. Axon Ignition says, or just Rule 5, cannot enter abandoned system.
Well, you're not going to get many abandoned systems until you get to the red systems anyway.
Finding the sites was a problem in abandoned mode.
Yeah, how do you get to them in abandoned mode? We could. How do you get to them in normal? I guess you have to use. I guess you have to use an exocraft, don't you? So even then, it's not really. I feel like it limits itself. So yeah, my vote is no at the moment, but we'll see. Number 7. What did we get to? Yeah, this is the question of advanced mining laser. Is it A-spell laser? I'm very rubbish with spelling. That's another thing I'm really not very good at. Light emission, light amplification through S.
Axon Ignition says, scroll the screen, we can see points. Sir Ominous Gaunt says, I do like abandoned labs for tech, being honest.
You do like them. Yeah, you okay.
Gravnaut says, Minotaur radar can find manufacturing sites. Plus maps in standard mode.
Yeah, but what? Actually, are we allowed the Minotaur up front? Can we buy that? The reason I say that is that every other exocraft has a class limit for the radar, whereas the Minotaur radar doesn't have a. Well, let's actually see if it has a limit. See, the thing is, we're going to get these rules worked out and they're going to bring out the update. And then the update is going to take all of our time and we're not going to get around to playing this.
Gravnaut, that's my plan out the window.
See, like the ordinary radars, it's nothing BA. And I can't remember what each one releases, but I don't think abandoned mode's an early one. We can check that. Whereas the Minotaur, it doesn't have a class. Let's check to see what you can get for each level. Unless Ignition just knows, which it does have a habit of just knowing the answer to these things.
Axon Ignition says, Minotaur is off, ban it. Just like abandoned mode, it's up we gotta play with broken multi-tool. Okay, maybe I went a bit overboard.
Well, I mean, there's an option to say that Minotaur is not allowed until a certain class. I don't think we should ban it entirely. I don't think the
Minotaur is only 5 metal plates.
Yeah, that's one of the problems. I don't think the point of the exercise is to cut out any gameplay in the game. It's just to limit it to a progression level. So I feel like every element of the game should eventually be unlockable. It's just whether or not... Well, what am I doing? It's just whether or not we allow it at particular moments in the game. We know... Actually, I don't even need to pull that one up, because we know what you can do with that one. Let's just pull up the ordinary. If we cut out the A and the B, what can we scan for? We can scan for depots, okay. And then if we put in the B, we can scan for depots, drop pods, and abandoned structures. So you can get that quite quickly. So maybe what we do is we say that you're only allowed to get a Minotaur once you've got to B class. So that's that. No, let's say, what's this one again? This is A class. Okay, you're only allowed a Minotaur once you can scan for everything in at least one in at least one exocraft. So you have to be at A class and have all 3 radar in at least one other exocraft before you can get the Minotaur. Does that make sense? Because the Minotaur also has... hang on. And also, you have all 4 of the hazard protection. Because that way, you're not getting any of the benefits of the Minotaur that would feel unearned, because you have to have at least got the things in there as well.
Says, reaching B class is easy enough.
Yeah, I think reaching B class is too easy. I reckon we say at least one exocraft has to have the upgrades, all 3 teleports and all 4 hazard protection before you can get the Minotaur, because the Minotaur gives you all of those things. So vote on that, yes or no. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Someone was saying these had 4 now. They do appear to be. They've messed these up a bit, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Says, Nomad is the logical option. Graph Nord says, okay. Poor Minotaur.
You can get it quite quickly. You just have to wait until you're A class and you've upgraded some stuff. You're going to get your roamer quite quickly anyway, because you're going to want the hazard protection when you're roaming around on planets. And these are all C anyway. Oh, they're not even C on here. So you're going to go for this quite quickly. But it's just going to take you until you get to A class and have put your radar in before you can get a Minotaur.
Graph Nord says, no Corvettes.
Yeah, I do think no Corvettes. Although, again, the object of the exercise isn't to limit the game eventually. So I can't help thinking that you're allowed a Corvette once you hit S class in everything. In other words, that's end game.
Says, Nomad for overland and sea.
Weather warning, incoming storm.
And so some people would say, okay, the game's over now. We have got everything. At that point, if you wanted to continue it as a save, then obviously you are then allowed to get um, a Corvette. It strikes me, as I say, the object of the exercise isn't necessarily to make it a challenge mode.
Ignition says, nomads
It's
might
to make it a different mode, like an alternative to abandoned mode or normal mode or whatever. Right, let's formulate that or formalize that or both. 8. No mine tool, is that correct? Yep. No Minotaur until one exo has 3, what are they called again? Teleport. No, scanners. I'll do. Do we need any more rules? Advanced mining laser. Let's just say it's A class for now. It is challenging, but I think that makes it fun. Because a lot of other things are being limited just by these rules. For instance, travelling to different colour systems is limited by the class rule. Surely that's not true, Gravnok. Surely it's the opposite. Surely the less rules makes it more succinct and easy to follow.
rules 1 to 10 or 1 to 8.
What do you think we should artificially add 2 more rules? I mean, there might be more rules I'm not thinking of. I can't think of them at the moment. But do we? Is there anything else that I'm missing?
Axon Ignition says, LOL Gravnaut.
Oh, I know that we were talking about in exosuit. Actually, we could do it for everything. Nothing is allowed more than 30 technology slots. Including multi-tool. Is that fair?
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, Rule 9, absolutely no duplication.
Is that a fair rule, number 9? Or does that make it too difficult for some people? I don't want to exclude people too much. We could say 40.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, tech slots totally fair.
Yeah, but that's because you were the person that suggested the rule in the first place. You're going to agree with it. You said it 4 times before I even noticed and read it out loud. I did notice. I didn't read it out loud.
Axon Ignition says, Rule number 10. If a new update drops for the game, abandon rules 1 through 9.
If a new update drops for the game, abandon rules 1 through... Well, I suspect that, and I was saying this, that if a new update drops, people are just going to go back to playing that, and then we'll come back to this when there's less content going on.
It's going to make you think about tech requirements.
Yeah, and I really like that idea of having to juggle. And I've said many, many times that we have too many tech slots, especially in the exosuit. But do we limit it in every type of ship? Because like one option was this option. 30, 40, 50, 60. So you start off with a C class that's only allowed 30 slots, then you go to 40 slots, and then you go to 50 slots, and then you go to 60 slots. But then because this was for tech.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, everything.
Trying to think how it would affect us. Let's have a look in my ship for a minute. So this is a fully built out ship. It's got loads of space.
Normal, survival, permadeath, extreme.
It's whichever we want. That's the point. It's agnostic as to mode. It's its own mode. It is replacing the existing modes with a different mode. So maybe we would go through and say what the rules have to be.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, permadeath extreme max.
Well, there is that. You could play it with Permadeath Extreme Max, but I'm trying to set up rules that are kind of agnostic to that. You know, I reckon you can get away with 30 even in a ship, because we don't need all of this. We don't need more than one weapon. And we've got slots. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 slots here. And a lot of this isn't vital. We'd never get an Atlantic drive by these rules until later on.
Sir Ominous Gaunt agree.
You'd only allowed to get the Atlantic drive after you got to S anyway. Conflict scanner.
Axon Ignition says, no neutron cannon allowed.
Why? Why are we arbitrarily deciding which weapons we're allowed and which we're not allowed? That's the... I'm presuming that's a joke, but... Yeah, I think we could get away with 30. Yeah, where I'm a bit confused.
Like your style, Graph Naut and Axon totally agree.
So I just realised I had that in the screen and I wasn't showing it. So let's minimise this a second, and then we can go back to. So yeah, I'm looking at my ship, and I'm trying to work out how much space you really need in a ship in the tech slots.
Sir
And
Gaunt says, Bullcaster only.
Considering we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 things technology-wise, and we've got 4 slots up here, and we've also got like 2 weapons, and we don't really need 2 weapons, although it's always handy to have like a weapon and also a phase beam. You wouldn't necessarily need to have them all upgraded fully.
Axon Ignition says, I think Sean Murray is watching this and thinking these guys have too much time on their hands, and then orders his team drop the update tonight.
Let's hope so. Hey, we're taking too many liberties with his game. Get that update out now.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, Axon.
Yeah, let's put it in for now.
Graph Naut says, LOL.
Let's say just 30 tech. We could say, because of this thing about making it so that the game opens up at the end, we could say 30 tech max until S class, because then if your goal is to get to S class, after that you can do what you want anyway. So and then nothing is allowed more than tech. So that includes ships and including ships and multi-tools. So we'll just say ships and multi-tools.
Sir Ominasgaunt says. Nope 30 tech max all classes. Gravnaut says. Can you line wrap rule 1? Can't see the right edge.
Oh yeah, okay. That's just basically saying C through S. So it doesn't really change anything clear. It's just, it was just being explicit, upgrading C to S. So C to A to B to S. No, C to B to A to S. We need to specify more clearly. Maybe that gives us our 10, because I mean, we can make it 10. Did we already say it can only part exchange need to be in class? No, I already said it in rule 3, what I was thinking. So the question goes back to exosuit. Yeah, we've mentioned it. We just haven't put the numbers in for the exosuit.
Another very restrictive rule is you can only upgrade mount / ship in the same category as your current one. So if you're using a B pistol, then can only go up to a pistol. Axon Ignition says. To change category of tool / ship, you must find them on planet.
I don't know. I can see why you would say that, in that you start off with a pistol. I think you leave that up to the player.
Sir Ominasgaunt says. Totally agree.
Everybody's masochistic in this stream. Everybody wants it to be the hardest possible rules. As I say, it's not supposed to be a permadeath challenge like the hardest possible rules ever. But I can see the logic. Do we, to keep it... oh, I know a rule we need to add in. What are they called? Guilds. Guild rewards need to be a fair exchange. We can work out what that means later.
Gravnaut says. NMS is too darned easy. We need a challenge.
Yeah, well, that's partly the point.
Sir Ominasgaunt says. Separates the committed from uncommitted.
Guild rewards need to be a fair challenge, and this is one of my bugbears with the guild system, and I probably said it to death, but just to fully explain, we'll go back to a space station.
Axon Ignition says. We can't see the game.
I've just gone back to the wrong space station anyway. But yes, I do need to minimize the... I've gone to my last abandoned system. I need to go to a better system than this. I wasn't paying attention.
Axel Ignition says, thank you.
Yeah, one of my bugbears, and I have said this
Let's be honest.
so many times.
Test their skills will do this challenge.
Well, yes, all people that just are bored of normal. I've said many times that once you've completed the mercenary ladder, then just being able to get these for free just feels wrong. It feels like it should be a barter system. And I half expect Hello Games to introduce a barter system at some point. So what I would suggest as part of the rules is that we make a barter system. And it's based on this ladder being similar in quality to this ladder. Slightly messed up by the fact that you can't get Val Cortexes at the moment. No, that seems to be a bug. But I feel like you'd need to work out some kind of fair barter system for you have to donate something to redeem something. That would be quite a complicated thing to set up in the rules. I think you'd have to have a separate set of rules for the barter system, and that would probably need a bit of work. It's not something we're going to come up with right now. But let's, for instance, say as a starter, if anybody wanted to experiment.
Ignition says, funny you say that. They have a barter system for ancient bones and Corvette parts.
And what's the common...
Done it for the guilds. Would have felt so natural.
What's the common thread there? Both of those barter systems were set up after we had this one. So I have a feeling that we will see this barter system one day. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw this in a more quality of life progression update, which I'm not sure that will be the 10th anniversary.
North says, Rule 11. No guilds. No mission boards.
No, I don't agree. I don't think we need to...
says, depends on the item.
I don't agree that we should have no guilds and no mission boards. I think that's a part of the game that people are happy to interact with. I think you're cutting out too much of the game by doing that. It's not as I said before. It's not a no abandoned system. It's not a no anomaly challenge. It's not a no space station challenge. It's just change the rules a little bit.
Mission board is so much fun. Missions are a great part of the game.
I mean, I'm not convinced they're a great part of the game. I feel like they're an important part of the game.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, you won't see these NPCs in abandoned mode.
No, but we're not going to necessarily be in abandoned mode. So, my initial thing is that what you do is you have to pick at least one of the things off of this list and donate the maximum in order to claim anything from this page. And that's just the basic. You could work it out later that you have to have the harder things for some of the harder stuff. But at least initially, my thinking is you have to donate the basics. Which means some guilds will be trickier than others. This particular guild, these things are actually quite tricky. Whereas for the Explorer Guild, I think you can even donate things like batteries. But that just means that some guilds are trickier than others. I don't see a problem with that. So I'm going to pencil it in as a rule. Fair exchange, meaning one max donation for a reward. Or for a gift. Is it a gift?
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, it's going to be easy in non-abandoned mode.
Well, as I say, that we could have different prices. We could draw up a price list to make it not too easy.
What are the end game objectives?
Oh yeah, we haven't actually specified that. I mean, there are two different possibilities for the end game objective. You would either say get to the center and go through, which you would then have to say would be black hole method or direct. You can't use.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, end game center of the galaxy.
Yeah, I think it's fair enough to say go through the center, because then also you're setting up your own end game as, because like a lot of these things I'm saying there are restrictions until you get to S class, and then you can do what you want. And if you don't want to go through the center of the galaxy until later, then you've got those restrictions lifted. So if you wanted then to say, let's upgrade my ship with 60 tech slots, so I've got plenty of space to give myself hyperdrive, I think that would be allowed. But you could do it quicker, and you wouldn't have to even get to S class to finish the challenge. You could just finish it by getting through with whatever you've got, whatever class you happen to be in. So it gives you flexibility as to how you play it, whether you play it as a challenge to get to the center, or whether you play it as a challenge to get to S class everything and then get to the center.
Graph Naught says,
Definitely no portals.
So, no portals. Sir Ominous Gaunt says, so center of the galaxy in multiplayer Permadeath Extreme Max.
Multiplayer. It doesn't have to be multiplayer, I wouldn't have thought. Number 11. No portals. And then number 12. End of game is traveling through the center. Is that the right way around for center of the galaxy? Now we have more than 10 rules. That's just too many, isn't it? But these are kind of optional rules anyway.
Says, good. I had Finding
I
Graves.
think you mean hate, but yes, Finding Graves is. Although someone was saying the other day.
Alphas195 says, tech / rewards from monoliths allowed. Graph Naught says, hate.
I think anything's allowed from monoliths, but if you get given something that is not in the class that you are allowed, then you have to just delete it or sell it. Let's say sell it, so you can get the nanites for it. Do we need to make that an explicit rule? Possibly. Because there are other things you can get the S-class rewards. So, I don't know if this is going to squeeze onto the page now.
Sell.
Any rewards above class need to be sold.
Axon Ignition says, sell.
or multi-tool, because obviously there's always that thing where they give you a multi-tool. Sold / scrapped. And that's running out of space now. So I need to go to that. What was it going to do? Oh yeah, I know what it's going to do. Someone was saying this the other day. There was used to be that thing where we could
Graph Naught says 212s.
Did I put 212s? Oh yes. 13. Someone was saying the other day that you can kind of do what we used to do in the anomaly with the mission board and get graves really quickly and easily. But they said the timing is
Sir Ominous Gaunt
tricky.
says 12 AM and 12 B both classes.
Living a hazardous flora. Once upon a time, we used to be able to cheat the grave system using the anomaly. And now, apparently, we can cheat the grave system using the mission board. Oh, I didn't mark myself ready.
Graph Naught says grave exploit. Yes, it works on corvettes also.
We didn't use they kind of closed the loophole in the anomaly. And the other thing about the anomaly one was that it didn't really allow you to do more than maybe one or two, because every 10 minutes it would change, whereas this will come up quite often. So you could do more than one, it would seem, if you time it right. Nasty planet.
Sir Ominous Gaunt says totally Graph Naught, remember to cancel the mission before you interact with the grave.
Yes. So it takes you straight to the grave, so it's not even a interacting with the grave as normal. Obviously, I've already got the things, but I can extract the technology, which will be the same. It would be the equivalent. It hasn't come up immediately. I haven't got another one immediately to do. Is that the time limit? Is it just gone over the 10? Oh, it just went over the 10 minutes. But obviously I've also got two other races I can look for. if you're not aware, that the mission board will be race based. So at the moment we are in a Viking system, so we'll get different missions. We get the same missions if we go to a Viking system. We will get different missions if we go to a different race.
10 minutes cycle.
Yeah, and I just hit the 10 minutes at that point. I've got that thing where the galaxy map's not coming up properly. That's always annoying. So my filter's not going to work. I don't have anything in this Corvette at all. Maybe chose the wrong Corvette to be testing this. So I've now gone to a different race. The mission board will be different. But I haven't got the grave.
Sir Ominasgaunt says, when are you announcing the challenge?
Well, what I'll probably do, what I was thinking is, rather than always do abandon mode on a Friday, I would occasionally do abandon mode. I would occasionally do this challenge. So it kind of depends on whether or not Hello Games suddenly drop the emoji this weekend. You never know, they could do. I suspect they won't. I suspect it'll be weekend, not next, but the one after. But they could drop it any time. You know what they're like. So I may just start playing this next Friday, and you're willing to do so as well. I'll probably put the rules up beforehand just to formalise them and to make it a bit more explicit. You never know, we might have to adapt them as we go along.
Says, we could see the drop this weekend or next.
Yeah, we could easily. My hunch is it'll be a couple of weeks' time. So not this weekend, not the weekend after that. That's my hunch. It's a complete guess. It's really not based on anything. Yeah, none of those are. So I've been to all three of the races. I'm not going to see any other missions. So currently there's no other mission to test. But I've been told, and it sounds like other people would agree, that if we go to a thing and abandon the mission, then we could just reopen that mission and do it again until the 10 minutes are up. And that's the quickest way of getting multiple glyphs.
Sir Ominasgaunt says, everyone is playing live on the 9th.
Everyone is playing live on the 9th. You mean that a lot of people are celebrating the 10th anniversary by playing live? What day is the 9th?
Ominasgaunt says, yes.
My calendar working at the moment.
Alphas 1
Sunday. Oh, interesting.
Sunday. Sir Ominasgaunt says, it's a Sunday.
Cool. That's not a bad day, is it? Yeah, I'll probably join that. I'll play live on the 9th. Maybe hook up with other players, see what's going on. Now I'm wandering around aimlessly. Why am I wandering around? I'm probably wandering around aimlessly because I finished. Like we played abandoned mode for a bit. We discussed these rules. I'm into my 4th hour, which I usually only stream for 3 hours. So I might just be better off just saying goodbye and going to get something to eat. So
Sir Ominous Gaunt says, possible update that Wednesday or the following week.
possibly. Um, I mean,
Axon Ignition says, great stream. Graph Nort says,
see the rule
see that
list.
rule
Okay.
list one last time.
All right, I'll make a post on my YouTube. So yeah, so our list as currently worked out is you can only upgrade a ship multi-tool through the classes C to S, which means that if you have a C class ship, in order to get an S class ship, you first have to build up to a B class ship,
Says,
then an A class ship, then an S class ship.
Axon Ignition says, and great to see everyone in chat.
Yeah, it's great to. I only stream because people chat. I mean, I would be playing this on my own anyway, so I really love it when people join in and chat, and especially help me formulate these rules because I've been kind of scratching my head over these rules for a while.
One says, cheers. Sir Ominous Gaunt says,
Everybody's saying goodbye now, and we're reading through the rules. but thank you. It's nice to hang out. I sometimes will close the stream and then everybody's saying goodbye and thank you, etc. When I'm not around. So it's nice to see everybody saying thanks. So rules. Only upgrade a ship and multi-tool through the classes. Rule 2, can only part exchange ships and multi-tools. So you can only have one multi-tool and ship at a time. It doesn't specifically say that, but that's what I mean by that. Multi-tool and ship upgrades need to be in a class step.
We forgot about Rule 14. The Pharaoh Special can only make nanites through fishing.
No, we're not doing that rule. In fact, we should just say, and no fishing. But no, we're not going to disallow fishing.
Says, LOL.
Multi-tool upgrades need to be in class step. In other words, you can't go from having
Axon ouch.
You can't go from having a C class ship and a C class multi-tool to having a C class ship and an S class multi-tool. They have to be in step with each other. So you have to have a ship and or a multi-tool upgrade, and then you have to get the other one lined up.
Joke on this channel.
5, not allowed to use synthesis laboratory or abandoned factories. I think we're saying no to the abandoned factories for now. That we can just do them. We're allowed to. They're hard to find anyway, as we were pointing out. There's not like a way of easily finding them. Also, you're not going to get many abandoned systems when you're in C class anyway, because you need to get to higher class, higher level systems to get there. Advanced mining laser is A. So we literally have to not get an advanced mining laser until we get to A class. That's the harshest rule, but we're going with it for now. No Minotaur allowed until one EXO has at least 3 scanners. Ships and multi-tools are not allowed more than 30 tech until S. Guild rewards need to be fair exchange, 1 max donation for a gift. Let's just point out on 9, that does mean if you are of the type of person that really wants to make it tricky, you're just not allowed to go above S, above 30 at all until you've jumped through the galaxy. But that's up to the player. Guild rewards need to be a fair exchange, 1 max donation for a gift. 11, no portals. 12, end of game is travelling through the centre, which again, you could just jump through the centre once you've got to S, but it's up to you. You could jump through beforehand.
Sir Ominous
And
says, love the rules and looking forward to this challenge.
at number 13,
Grant
any
says,
rewards above class
this
or
will be
multiple
easy.
gifts. Trying not to talk over people saying things. Any rewards above class or multiple gift need to be sold or scrapped. There might be things that come up as we go along, but that's what we're going to stick to. If we don't have an update by Friday, it's almost like making Sean give us an update. If we don't have an update, actually, no, I'm going to do this on Monday because why not? I stream on Monday. There's not a lot else going on in No Man's Sky. Let's run these rules on Monday. Other people are willing to start earlier. If people want to do it as a challenge and a race, we'll just go by the playtime, the number of hours in the save. There's no need to have a timer running, for instance. We'll just go by what the save says. And so the race would be to get through the centre, and that would be based on a speed run rules. Okay, I'll see you all then. Thanks for joining me and helping with these rules and chatting generally. I've been Pharaoh. Travel well, and goodbye for now.
Alphas195 says, thanks for the stream.